relation, India and UK relation. Recently inaugural India UK 2+2 foreign as well as the डिफेंस डायलॉग जो है वो न्यू दिल्ली में हुआ था. तो 2+2 डायलॉग है, एक तो कौन सा होगा डिफेंस और दूसरा है फॉरेन. द 2+2 डायलॉग एट द सीनियर ऑफिसर लेवल एक मैकेनिज्म है जहाँ पे वो डिस्कस करते हैं और रिव्यू करते हैं कि इंडिया यूके के कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप के सारे एस्पेक्ट को डिस्कस और रिव्यू करते हैं. पॉसिबिलिटीज़ फॉर द फर्दर कोलैबोरेशन पर्टिकुलरली इन एरियाज ऑफ कि हम क्या फर्दर कोलैबोरेट कर सकते हैं, कोई पॉसिबिलिटी है क्या ट्रेड, इन्वेस्टमेंट, डिफेंस में, क्रिटिकल इमर्जिंग टेक्नोलॉजी में, इंडो पैसिफिक एक्सेट्रा फॉर डिस्कस बाय द टू साइड. इंडिया यूके रिलेशन स्ट्रेटेजिक कन्वर्जन असर्टिव चाइना इन द इंडो पैसिफिक इज अ कंसर्न फॉर द इंटरेस्ट ऑफ बोथ द कंट्री. 2021 में बोथ नेशन कंक्लूडेड अ कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप आउटलाइनिंग इंडिया यूके 2030 रोड मैप. India UK Roadmap 2030 Roadmap, it provides a framework for the UK India relation across the health, climate, trade, education, science, technology and defense. Trade and investment relation bilateral trade stood at 36.3 billion during the financial year 2022 से 23 with a trade balance in favor of India. India UK Roadmap 2030 roadmap, it provides a framework for the UK-India relation across the health, climate, trade, education, science, technology and defense. Trade and investment relation. Bilateral trade stood at 36.3 billion during the financial year 2022 with a trade balance in the favor of India. Under the enhanced trade partnership, both aim to double the bilateral trade by 2030 and have also launched negotiation for a free trade agreement. India-UK Infrastructure Finance Bridge was announced to leverage the expertise and investment in support of India's national infrastructure pipeline. ठीक है, फाइनेंस ब्रिज was announced to leverage expertise and investment in support of India's national infrastructure pipeline. Both signed defense and the international security partnership in 2015 to provide a strategic roadmap and direction to evolving India-UK defense relation. दोनों के बीच में जॉइंट एक्सरसाइजेज भी होती है. अजय वॉरियर आर्मी के बीच में कोनकन एक्सरसाइज नेवी के, कोबरा वॉरियर मल्टीनेशनल एयर एक्सरसाइज है. इंडिया यूके ग्रीन ग्रोथ इक्विटी फंड 2 is mobilizing institutional investment in renewable energy, electric mobility, etc. in India. Also, both cooperate at the International Solar Alliance Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. Education, Research, Innovation के बारे में बात करें, both have signed MOU on mutual recognition of academic qualification in 2022. ये कुछ है पोटेंशियल बेनिफिट ऑफ द फ्री ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट. अगर फ्री ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट होगा तो रिड्यूस कॉस्ट टू इंडियन प्रोफेशनल्स बाय टोटलाइजेशन एग्रीमेंट. टोटलाइजेशन एग्रीमेंट की वजह से इंडियन प्रोफेशनल की कॉस्ट कम हो जाती है. इंक्रीज एक्सपोर्ट इन कैटेगरीज लाइक टेक्सटाइल, फर्नीचर, electrical and general industrial machinery. Boost labor intensive sectors like leather, textile and jewelry. Decoupling from China by allowing shift of companies to India. Attracting investment by relaxed customer procedure. Easier immigration for the Indian student through temporary work visas. Attracting investment. Okay. अब हम लोग कुछ एजुकेशन, रिसर्च, इनोवेशन के यहाँ बोथ साइन MOU ऑन द म्यूचुअल रिकॉग्निशन ऑफ एकेडमिक क्वालिफिकेशन इन 2022. यूके इंडिया एजुकेशन एंड द रिसर्च इनिशिएटिव. UK India Education and Research Initiative facilitate educational linkage and UK research and innovation. India plays a key role in enhancing the research and innovation collaboration. Science and Innovation Council, ये एक apex body है to review overall bilateral scientific cooperation except the strategic sector. People to people exchange. इंडियन डायस्पोरा जो है वो 3.1% ऑफ द टोटल पॉपुलेशन ऑन द UK फॉर्म करता है. बोथ हैव साइंड अ माइग्रेशन एंड मोबिलिटी पार्टनरशिप agreement to facilitate ease movement of the working professional between the two countries. Challenge क्या है? Limited defense cooperation. For example, despite the existence of the DISP, UK's share of India's defense market is around 2% only. UK stand on state-sponsored terrorism. Historically, the UK's lenient stance on terrorism sponsored by the Pakistan has hindered the progress of the bilateral relations. Policies toward the China. Even though UK recognized China as a threat, particularly in the South China Sea, it has been making efforts to make China the anchor of the post-Brexit economic policy. Also, earlier Britain committed to help realize the potential of China's Belt and Road Initiative. Immigration policies. Complex visas and immigration policies, especially concerning Indian students and business people, have been a bone of contention. Lack of credible data of immigrants has complicated the issue. Complex visa and immigration policies, especially concerning Indian students and the business people, have been a bone of contention. The lack of credible data of immigrant has complicated the issue. Economic and trade barrier. For long while India focused on self-sufficiency and public sector, while the UK became dynamic market economy which restrained wider economic cooperation. For long while India focused on self-sufficiency and public sector, UK became a dynamic market economy which restrained wider economic cooperation. Also, now both countries are not cooperating under any specific deadline for concluding negotiation on free trade agreement. Major concern in conclusion of free trade agreement: rule of origin issue. Liberal rule of origin issue may result in European good falsely labeled as UK product exported to India at preferential duties. ठीक है, रूल ऑफ ओरिजिन अगर लिबरल करोगे तो कोई भी रिजल्ट इन यूरोपियन यूनियन गुड फॉल्सली लेबल्ड एज यूके प्रोडक्ट एक्सपोर्टेड टू इंडिया एट प्रेफरेंशियल ड्यूटीज. Bilateral investment trade. India India's new model India's new model for BIT, bilateral investment treaty, mandated exhausting local remedies before resorting to international arbitrage, faces resistance. Intellectual property right. UK seeks commitment beyond the WTO's TRIPS agreement, which India is resisting. Government procurement. UK sees access to India's government procurement market. UK sees access to India's government procurement market, but Indian companies find the UK's equivalent market highly competitive and restrictive. ठीक है, सीक्स एक्सेस, लेकिन इंडिया वहाँ पे ऐसा नहीं कर पाती है. यूके सीज कमिटमेंट बियॉन्ड द WTO ट्रिप एग्रीमेंट विच इंडिया इज रेजिस्टिंग. यूके इज सीकिंग significant cut in import duties on goods such as Scotch whisky, automobile, lamb meat, chocolate, certain confectionery item. ठीक है, अब क्या है? We add earlier free trade agreement finalization work towards the comprehensive trade agreement for the earliest promotion of free flowing goods and service between both nations. Collaboration in shared interest. It focused on the global challenges like the climate change, clean energy, global health as outlined in Roadmap 2030 to provide leadership. Finalize the reciprocal logistic agreement to allow Indian ships and aircraft to use the British port and the air bases, especially in regions like Africa. It prioritizes the collaboration in counter-terrorism, humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, and maritime security, especially in the Indo-Pacific region. It prioritizes collaboration in counter-terrorism. It prioritizes collaboration किसमें? Counter-terrorism में. It prioritizes collaboration in counter. It finalizes a reciprocal logistic agreement to allow the Indian ships and aircraft to use the British port and the air bases, especially in regions like Africa. It prioritizes collaboration in counter-terrorism, humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, maritime security, especially in the Indo-Pacific region. Defense production. Intensify efforts for government-to-government procurement to facilitate the export of UK military technology. It capitalizes on the successful co-production agreement such as the Augusta-Westland Tata Sense J5 to revitalize the defense industrial partnership. People-to-people tie. It promote programs like the Generation UK-India initiative, facilitating short-term study, work placement to young people from the UK in India for greater people-to-people understanding. Short-term study, work placement to young people from UK to India. India-UK Young Professional Scheme, allowing the graduate age 18 to 30 to live, study, travel and work for up to 2 years in either country. ठीक है, allowing graduate age 18 to 30 to live, India UK, graduate age 18 to 30 to live, study, travel and work for up to 2 years in either country. As India seeks to carve out a new role for itself in the evolving global order as a leading power, and the UK recalibrates its strategic outlet post-Brexit, evolving for India seeks to carve out a new role for itself in the evolving global order as a leading power, and the UK recalibrates its strategic outlook post-Brexit. There is a unique moment in India-UK ties. India-UK requires a quantum leap in the relation. Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity. The third Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity Ministerial Meeting, San Francisco, USA में हुआ था. During the meeting, negotiation under the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework Pillar 3, that is Indo-Pacific Economic Framework Pillar 3, in Clean Economy Pillar 4, Fair Economy were concluded. Additionally, ministers also signed the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework agreement relating to supply chain resilience negotiated under the Pillar 2. तो 2 में सप्लाई चेन रेजिलियंस, 3 में क्लीन इकोनॉमी, 4 में फेयर इकोनॉमी. द एग्रीमेंट एनविजेस एस्टैब्लिशमेंट ऑफ इंडो पैसिफिक इकोनॉमिक फ्रेमवर्क supply chain council for overseeing collaboration on supply chain issues across the Indo-Pacific economic framework supply chain council supply chain crisis response network to help prepare for and respond to future supply chain disruption. Indo-Pacific Economic Framework Labor Right Advisory Board to identify the labor right concerns across the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework supply chain and develop the recommendation. About the IPEF genesis. IPEF was launched jointly by the USA and other partner countries of the Indo-Pacific region in May 2022 at Tokyo. Objective to strengthen the economic engagement among the partner countries with the goal of advancing growth, peace, prosperity in the region. To strengthen the economic engagement among the partner countries with the goal of advancing पार्टनर कंट्रीज़ में इकोनॉमिक इंगेजमेंट बढ़ेगा तो ग्रोथ होगी, पीस होगी और प्रॉस्पेरिटी. 4 pillars of economic framework. Connected economic trade, high standard queues in the digital economy, including standard on cross-border data flow, data localization, strong labor and environmental standards and corporate accountability provision. Resilient economic supply chain commitment to create a more resilient economy and a guard against the price spike that increase cost. Establishing an early warning system, mapping critical mineral supply chain, improve traceability in key sector, coordinating on diversification effort. उसके बाद क्लीन इकोनॉमी. एक सेकेंड. कनेक्टेड इकोनॉमी ट्रेड, हाई स्टैंडर्ड क्यूल्स इन द डिजिटल इकोनॉमी, standard on cross-border data flow and data localization, strong labor and environmental standard and corporate accountability provision. Supply chain committed to create a more resilient economy and guard against the price hike spike that increase cost. Establishing an early warning system, mapping critical mineral supply chain, improving traceability in key sectors, coordinating on diversification effort. Clean economy, commitment on clean energy, decarbonization and infrastructure that promote good paying jobs. Concrete high ambition target that will exceed efforts to tackle the climate crisis, including in the areas of renewable energy, carbon removal energy efficiency standard and new measures to combat the methane emission. Enact and fair economy means enact and enforce effective tax, anti-money laundering, anti-bribery regimes that are in line with existing multilateral obligations. It enforcing regimes that cut down on corruption and ensure fair taxation. To strengthen the economic engagement among the partner countries and with the goal of advancing growth, peace and prosperity. 14 partner countries include USA, Australia, Brunei, Fiji, India, Indonesia, Japan, Brunei, Australia, Brunei, Fiji, Indonesia, India, Japan, Republic of Korea, Malaya, New Zealand, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam. Together with these countries represent 40% of the world GDP, 28% of the global GS trade, goods and service trade. Model the framework is structured around the 4 pillars. India has joined all pillars except the trade one. Lead agency, the US Trade Representative is the lead agency of the trade pillar, while the Department of Commerce is leading the other 3 pillars. Trade pillar. Additional trade agreement versus IPEF. Unlike traditional trade blocs like the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership of Free Trade Agreement, Indo-Pacific Economic Framework will not negotiate tariff or market access. Also, unlike the Free Trade Agreement, where everything is negotiated under a single umbrella, IPF negotiation under the 4 model pillars are in silos independent of each other. तो कौन कौन सा हो गया? 4 pillars है. Connected economy, that is the trade. Resilient economy, that is the supply chain. Clean economy and fair economy. ठीक है. 3, 4 clean economy. 2 कौन सा है? Resilient economy. And 1 कौन सा है? Connected economy. ठीक है, वो सब एक ही में. IPF mainly focus on increasing regulatory coherence between the member nations. Challenges to IPEF. Concerns on durability. The unpredictability of the US domestic politics may adversely impact the IPF. For example, US had shown strong leadership on the Trans-Pacific Partnership, abruptly withdrew from it during the Trump administration. Decoupling China is difficult. China is already the leading trading partner of all the IPEF member countries. China is also a member of the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership and willing to join comprehensive and progressive agreement for TPP. Even if companies move production elsewhere, they still rely on Chinese raw material and the concerns on durability. The unpredictable the U.S. domestic policy it adversely impact. For example, the U.S. had shown strong leadership on the Trans-Pacific Partnership, abruptly withdrew from it during the Trump administration. Decoupling China is difficult. China is already the leading trading partner of all IPF member countries. China is also a member of the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, and it is willing to join the Comprehensive and the Progressive Agreement for TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership. Even if the companies move production elsewhere, they still rely on Chinese raw material and the equipment. Concern on the reciprocity. IVF does not provide market access, and therefore it is difficult to secure the substantial commitment from members without providing market access as a concession to signatory country. भाई कैसे करेंगे, मार्केट एक्सेस दे नहीं रहा है तो कैसे कमिटमेंट पूरी होगी. Venturing into sensitive areas, IPF plan to cover new areas like digital economy, clean energy, from labor and environment standard. However, many countries in the region may be reluctant to commit due to policy differences with the US. For example, due to similar concerns, India did not join the Pillar 1 connected economy. Lack of binding commitment. This raises concern about the agreement's ability to bring about the meaningful change in economic landscape of the region. This raises concern about the agreement's ability to bring about meaningful change in the economic landscape of the region. अब क्या significance of IPF? Establishing new rules of commerce to strengthen economic partnership, building a free and open Indo-Pacific that has substantial and inclusive economic growth, making supply chain more resilient, thereby protecting against the costly disruption, restoring the US influence in the region since its exit from the Trans-Pacific Partnership, establishing an alternative to China in the Indo-Pacific, deeper integration of India into the global value chain. Establishing an alternative to China in the Indo-Pacific, restoring the US influence in the region since its exit from the Trans-Pacific Partnership, making supply chains resilient, protecting against the costly disruption, building a free and open Indo-Pacific, substantial economic growth, inclusive economic growth, establishing new rules of commerce to strengthen the economic framework. Okay. Strengthen the IPF credibility. Develop the IPF into a credible alternative that provides tangible benefit for the economic activity and investment. Incentivize participation. Offer incentives to countries already signatories to regional free trade agreement. ठीक है, एक सेकेंड. Okay, comprehensive and progressive agreement for TPP. Comprehensive and progressive agreement RCEP to make joining IPF more appealing. Ensuring binding rules. Ensure that negotiated rules are binding and consider consent from all stakeholders. Expand IPEF member. It develop the process and criteria for inviting other countries from the region to join the IPF negotiation. Balanced approach toward the China. A pragmatic approach is needed as an overtly anti-China strategy might be counterproductive, as many IPF members in the Indo-Pacific may not support this. A pragmatic approach is कैसा approach चाहिए? Pragmatic approach. As an overtly anti-China strategy might be counterproductive, as many IPF members in that region may not support this. Expand IPF membership during the process and criteria for inviting other countries also. Ensure binding rules are binding. Incentivize participation. Also offer incentive to countries already signatory to regional FTA and comprehensive partnership for progressive agreement for Trans-Pacific TPP. Okay. News in short. Indo-Pacific Regional Dialogue 2023 एडिशन ऑफ द इंडो-पैसिफिक रीजनल डायलॉग. इंडो-पैसिफिक रीजनल डायलॉग न्यू दिल्ली में हुआ था. इंडो-पैसिफिक रीजनल डायलॉग एक एनुअल एपेक्स लेवल रीजनल स्ट्रेटेजिक डायलॉग है इंडियन नेवी का. थीम ऑफ इंडो-पैसिफिक रीजनल डायलॉग 2023 जियो पॉलिटिकल इम्पैक्ट अपॉन द इंडो-पैसिफिक मैरीटाइम ट्रेड एंड कनेक्टिविटी. इंडो-पैसिफिक रीजनल डायलॉग 2023 was organized by the National Maritime Foundation, New Delhi, and the Indian Navy's knowledge partner. Indo-Pacific Regional Dialogue aims to review various maritime threats, regional opportunities, and challenges within the Indo-Pacific region, fostering exchange of solution-oriented dialogue among the key stakeholders. Indo-Pacific Regional Dialogue 2023 न्यू दिल्ली में हुआ था. एनुअल हर साल होता है. एपेक्स लेवल रीजनल स्ट्रेटेजी डायलॉग इंडियन नेवी. थीम क्या है? जियो पॉलिटिकल इम्पैक्ट किस पे? इंडो-पैसिफिक के मैरीटाइम ट्रेड एंड कनेक्टिविटी. Was organized by the National Maritime Foundation, New Delhi. Revive various maritime trends, regional opportunities and challenges in the Indo-Pacific. Solution-oriented, fostered exchange of solution-oriented dialogue. Asian Defence Minister Meeting. 10वीं एशियान की डिफेंस मिनिस्टर मीटिंग प्लस, ठीक है, जकार्ता इंडोनेशिया में हुआ था। ये एक प्लेटफॉर्म है फॉर एशियन एसोसिएशन फॉर साउथ ईस्ट एशियन नेशन एंड इज 8 डायलॉग पार्टनर अस अका प्लस कंट्रीज, ठीक है। प्लस कंट्रीज इंक्लूड इसमें ऑस्ट्रेलिया आता है, चाइना आता है, इंडिया आता है, न्यूजीलैंड, ऑस्ट्रेलिया न्यूजीलैंड हो गया, चाइना इंडिया जापान हो गया, साउथ कोरिया भी है, चाइना रशिया भी है, एंड यूएसए। एडीएम एशियन डिफेंस मिनिस्टर हर मीटिंग, एशियान डिफेंस मिनिस्टर मीटिंग, ठीक है, ये हाईएस्ट डिफेंस कंसल्टेटिव एंड कोऑपरेटिव मैकेनिज्म एशियान में। इसका ऑब्जेक्टिव है टू स्ट्रेंथन द सिक्योरिटी एंड डिफेंस कोऑपरेशन फॉर द पीस एंड स्टेबिलिटी। इंडिया proposal to co-chair the expert working group on the counter-terrorism has been endorsed by the ADM plus. It is one of the focus areas, counter-terrorism. India is also committed towards the result-oriented cooperation with ADM plus for enhancing maritime security in the region. India's role in maritime security rule-based order. Though the implementation of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea 1982, it ensures freedom of navigation, unimpeded lawful commerce, etc. India emphasis on dialogue and diplomacy, and this is not an era of war. Securing sea lanes and choke points such as the Malacca Strait through regular surveillance, capacity building. It includes exercises Singapore India maritime bilateral access SIMBUX and the defense cooperation signed to deal to export BrahMos missile to Philippines. Focus areas of ADMM plus: maritime security, counter-terrorism, humanitarian assistance, disaster relief, peacekeeping operation, military medicine, humanitarian mine action, cyber security. ह्यूमैनिटेरियन माइन एक्शन। इंडिया ऑस्ट्रेलिया 2+2 मिनिस्टर डायलॉग, ठीक है। इंडिया सेकेंड, ये दूसरा था इंडिया ऑस्ट्रेलिया 2+2 मिनिस्टर डायलॉग जो कि न्यू दिल्ली में हुआ था। द मीटिंग वॉज को चेयर्ड बाय द इंडियन डिफेंस एज द एक्सटर्नल अफेयर मिनिस्टर अलॉन्ग विद देयर ऑस्ट्रेलियन काउंटर पार्ट। द मीटिंग हाईलाइटेड द सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ अ strong India-Australia defense partnership for the Indo-Pacific and call for enhanced collaboration in information exchange and defense research, etc. Meeting highlighted the significance of a strong Indo-Australia defense partnership for the Indo-Pacific and is called for enhanced collaboration in information exchange and defense research. Significance of a strong India-Australia defense partnership for Indo-Pacific, enhanced collaboration in information exchange, defense research, strategic conversion between India and Australia, both democracies of the Indo-Pacific. They have pluralistic societies and market economy. Society कैसी है? Pluralistic. Economy कैसी है? Market economy. Society pluralistic, economy market. It holds a shared vision for the Indo-Pacific that calls for a free, open, inclusive, resilient, rule-based order in the region. कैसा होना चाहिए? Free, open, inclusive, resilient, rule-based. Australia-India Indo-Pacific Ocean Initiative. Australia-India Indo-Pacific Ocean Initiative Partnership. Australia-India Indo-Pacific Ocean Initiative Partnership. It helps shape maritime cooperation in the Indo-Pacific. Australia-India Indo-Pacific Ocean Initiative Partnership. Maritime cooperation. Supply chain resilience initiative by Australia, India, Japan was launched for the diversification of supply chain in the region. Shared interest in balancing the China's growing assertiveness. Shared interest in balancing the China's growing assertiveness. Both are the members of the Agro language Japan and the US. Bilateral strategic partnership was elevated to comprehensive strategic partnership in 2020. Key defense cooperation. Military logistic support agreement facilitates sophisticated logistic cooperation. Defense science and technology implementing arrangement facilitated interaction between the defense research organization in two countries. Information fusion center Indian Ocean region. Information fusion center Indian Ocean region liaison officer to enhance maritime situational awareness. Joint military exercise Oz Index Malabar Austra Hind Australia Oz Index Malabar Austra Hind pitch black. Joint military exercise Oz Index Malabar Austra Hind Australia Index Malabar Austra Hind pitch black. Other areas of cooperation include cyber security, ocean-borne trade security. India US 2+2 ministry dialogue. ये पांचवा था 2+2 ministry dialogue already in New Delhi. In 2+2 dialogue, foreign or defense minister participate and discuss the strategic and the security issues. India also has a 2+2 dialogue mechanism with Australia, Japan, and UK and Russia. Defense both to co-produce infantry combat vehicle as part of the defense industrial cooperation. Both to co-produce infantry combat vehicle as part of our defense industrial cooperation. More looking forward to finalize security of supply arrangements. बोट टू को प्रोड्यूस इन्फेंट्री कॉम्बैट व्हीकल, क्या को प्रोड्यूस करेंगे? इन्फेंट्री कॉम्बैट व्हीकल एज पार्ट ऑफ अ डिफेंस इंडस्ट्रियल कोऑपरेशन। बोट टू को प्रोड्यूस इन्फेंट्री कॉम्बैट व्हीकल एज पार्ट ऑफ द डिफेंस इंडस्ट्रियल cooperation. Both look forward to finalize security of supply arrangement. SOSA. It will further integrate the defense industrial ecosystem of both countries while strengthening supply chain resilience. Defense industrial ecosystem both countries, strengthening supply chain resilience. Both to cooperate infantry combat vehicles for our defense industrial cooperation. Both looking forward to finalize the security of supply arrangement. देखिए साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी पार्टनरशिप रिव्यूड यूएस इंडिया इनिशिएटिव ऑन क्रिटिकल एंड इमर्जिंग टेक्नोलॉजी initiative on critical emerging aim to strengthen and broaden the strategic technological partnership between the companies and academic institutions. It welcomed the progress of the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity. Indo-Pacific Economic Framework has 4 pillars relating to trade, supply chain, clean economy, fair economy. India has joined 3 pillars of the IPF but stayed out of the 3 pillar trade pillar. Multilateral diplomacy and connectivity. Both reaffirmed the importance of the free, open, inclusive, resilient Indo-Pacific and reiterated the benefits of the Middle East Europe Economic Corridor. India Middle East Europe Economic Corridor. India Middle East इधर वाला Middle East Europe Economic Corridor. Improve cooperation under the USA's Cancer Moonshot Program. USA's Cancer Moonshot Program. Key aspect of the India-US relation. US is India's largest export destination. It is the third largest defense supplier to India. Also, it has recognized India as a key defense partner and signed defense cooperation treaties like BECA, Basic Exchange and Cooperation Agreement in 2020. Recently, India has joined US-led Mineral Security Partnership which aim to ensure the supply of critical mineral. Joined US-led Mineral Supply Partnership. Voice of Global South Summit. India hosted the Voice of the Global South Summit. It focused on ways to sustain the momentum generated towards the inclusive, representative and progressive world order. Indian Prime Minister unveiled Dakshin Global South Center of Excellence and called for the 5C for the Global South: consultation, cooperation, communication, creativity, capacity building. India previously hosted the first Voice of Global South Summit, where the 125 Global South countries came together with the theme Unity of Voice, Unity of Purpose. The term Global South refers to various countries often describing as developing, less developed and underdeveloped. The concept of the Global South can be traced as to the Branded Report of 1980, need for South-South cooperation to address a disproportionate impact of the global challenges. अब क्या है कि क्लाइमेट चेंज का डिसप्रपोर्शनल इफेक्ट तो हम पे ही पड़ रहा है साउथ वालों को. टू इम्प्रूव रिप्रेजेंटेशन इन द ग्लोबल फॉरम such as the UNSC, to achieve food security, energy security, fulfill sustainable development goal. India's initiative for South-South cooperation, inducting इसने G20 ग्रुपिंग में अफ्रीकन यूनियन को भी रखा है. inducting African Union in G20 grouping. Institutional initiatives such as the International Solar Alliance, Global Biofuel Alliance, Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, Maharishi for Global Food Security, Global Food Security, G20 Digital Public Infrastructure Framework proposes for weather and the climate monitoring satellite for the Global South. Weather monitoring, climate monitoring. Global North, Global South. Okay. अब आते हैं नेक्स्ट टॉपिक इकोनॉमी. सबसे पहले हम लोग पढ़ते हैं डिजिटल पब्लिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर. रिसेंटली प्राइम मिनिस्टर अनाउंस द लॉन्च ऑफ द 2 इंडिया लेड इनिशिएटिव ग्लोबल डिजिटल पब्लिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर रिपोजिटरी एंड अ सोशल इम्पैक्ट फंड ड्यूरिंग द वर्चुअल G20 लीडर्स समिट. ग्लोबल digital public infrastructure is one of the 3 digital public infrastructure deliverables that were endorsed by the G20 New Delhi Leaders Declaration. Other 2 deliverables include a framework for building digital public infrastructure framework बनाई है and mobilizing finance for the DPI development in the low and middle income countries. Global District Public Infrastructure Repository developed by the Ministry of Information, Electronics and Information Technology. It wants to bridge the knowledge gap in the choices as well as the methodologies required for the design, construction, then deployment and governance of the digital public infrastructure. The global digital public infrastructure repository showcases the information in a very standardized form from the countries and organizations that have developed the digital public information at a scale, and then incorporate the elements such as the maturity scale, source code, governance framework. Currently, the global digital public infrastructure repository features 54 DPI from 16 countries. Social Impact Fund, it envisioned as a government-led multi-stakeholder initiative to fast-track DPI implementation in the Global South. It offers a platform for all relevant stakeholders to contribute to this fund and then help accelerate the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goal in the low and middle income countries through digital public infrastructure. India has pledged an initial commitment of 25 million USD to Social Impact Fund. This fund will offer financial support to provide upstream technical and non-technical assistance to countries in developing. The fund will offer financial support to provide upstream technical and non-technical assistance to countries in developing. This fund will offer financial support to provide upstream technical and non-technical assistance to countries in developing DPI system. This fund will offer. India has pledged an initial commitment of 25 million USD to Social Impact Fund. This fund will offer financial support to provide upstream technical and non-technical assistance to countries in developing DPI system. Digital public infrastructure is a set of shared digital system which are शेयर डिजिटल सिस्टम जो बहुत ही सिक्योर है, इंटरऑपरेबल है, built on open standards and specification to deliver and provide equitable access to public and or private services at the societal scale. Digital public infrastructure. Digital. It enables the remote, paperless, presence-less service delivery, reduces the cost and increasing the access. Enables remote, paperless, presence-less service delivery, reducing cost and increasing access. Digital railroad. Public governance भी बढ़िया रहेगा. Governance and accountability to people for public interest. Government orchestration. Infrastructure. It enables for national scale innovation, act as a building block for large scale development of digital solution. Ecosystem led implementation. DPI can be private sector led, public private led, or public sector led. Ecosystem level impact, it can be leveraged in public and the private domain. Key pillars of DPI. Open, interoperable infrastructure. Enabler for the national scale innovation. It acts as a building block for large scale development of digital solution. Ecosystem led implementation. DPI can be private sector led, public and private led, or public sector led. Ecosystem level impact, it can be leveraged in public and the private domain. Key pillars of DPI. Open, interoperable, extensible and scalable technology. कैसी होनी चाहिए? Open, interoperable, extensible and scalable technology. Robust governance framework with transparent legal framework, data protection mechanism, grievance redressal. Key pillars of क्या है? ओपन होना चाहिए. टेक्नोलॉजी कैसी होनी चाहिए? ओपन, इंटरऑपरेबल, एक्सटेंसिबल, स्केलेबल. रोबस्ट गवर्नेंस फ्रेमवर्क विद ट्रांसपेरेंट लीगल फ्रेमवर्क, डेटा प्रोटेक्शन मैकेनिज्म, ग्रीवेंस रिड्रेसल, प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ द IP. Resilient local ecosystem, eliminating the economic barrier, technical barrier, social barrier, ensuring community participation as well as the sustainability. Foundational element. A strong DPI has three foundational systems: identity, payment, data exchange. India's DPI architecture, known as India Stack, consists of Aadhaar identity, UPI, Aadhaar enabled payment system, DigiLocker and account aggregator data exchange. Significance of DPI for countries of Global South. Inclusion. DPI helps overcome the challenges of existing mechanisms that suffer from delay, leakage, targeting error, often excluding women and other marginalized community. Inclusion. Significance of DPI for countries of Global South. Inclusion. DPI, digital public infrastructure, it helps to overcome challenges of existing mechanisms that suffer from delays, leakages and targeting error, often excluding women and other marginalized communities. Resilience. Public emergencies like COVID-19, natural disaster, it may impair conventional mode of service delivery. DPI help overcome these barriers. पहले तो significance क्या है DPI for countries of global south. Inclusion. DPI हेल्प करता है इन ओवरकमिंग challenges of existing mechanism that suffer from delay, leakage, targeting error, often excluding women and other marginalized communities. Resilience. Public emergencies like COVID-19 and natural disaster may impair conventional mode of service delivery. Inclusion, resilience. DPI help overcome this barrier by enabling uninterrupted remote assistance through digital network operating at national scale. Sovereignty. It is centralized decision making and the legacy software strict. अगर सेंट्रलाइज डिसीजन मेकिंग हो रही है एंड लेगेसी सॉफ्टवेयर इट विल रिस्ट्रिक्ट कंट्रीज फॉर इमेजिनिंग न्यू डिजिटल सॉल्यूशन सो DPI आर ओपन interoperable which offers countries the autonomy and flexibility to plan, design, implement their digital system. Innovation. The DPI approach allows the multiple stakeholders, the government, private, civil society, to collaborate and contribute to innovation in the digital ecosystem by enabling a fair market competition. Socio-economic outcome. DPI incentivizes the entrepreneurship, ठीक है, advances competition, improves the quality of life and entrepreneurship, competition, quality of life and enhances the business opportunities. For instance, India's digital public infrastructure has transformed the Indian economy, bolstered productivity and supported equitable growth. India's role in promoting DPI at a global level. Identity system. International IIT Bangalore launched the Modular Open Source Identity Platform. Modular Open Source Identity Platform to help other countries to set up Aadhaar-like system. More than 10 countries from Sri Lanka to Sierra Leone, they have initiated most projects so far. Payment linkage. India has signed agreement with various nations to extend the reach of its UPI payment system like Singapore, Malaysia, UAE and France. India has signed agreement with various nations to extend the reach of this UPI payment system like Singapore, Malaysia, UAE and France. G20 under the India's presidency, G20 leaders arrived at a consensus regarding the promotion and adoption of the digital infrastructure framework. Alternative model. India's digital public infrastructure offers an alternative model to the traditional big tech approach, emphasizing the public alternative model किसको traditional big tech approach. It emphasizes the public ownership and the control of the critical infrastructure. One Future Alliances. One Future Alliance. India's proposed One Future Alliance for building the capacity, providing technical assistance, funding support for implementing DPI in the low and middle income countries. Open source management. India's commitment to open source technology has prevented the privatization of the critical infrastructure, fostered innovation, which enable their flexible adoption at the global scale. ये तो बहुत चीज़ है. आइडेंटिटी सिस्टम. IIT बेंगलुरु ने मोसिप मॉडुलर ओपन सोर्स आइडेंटिटी प्लेटफॉर्म जो अदर कंट्रीज़ को हेल्प कर रही है आधार लाइक सिस्टम में, ठीक है. पेमेंट लिंकेजेस UPI पेमेंट सिस्टम इन सिंगापुर, मलेशिया, UAE, फ्रांस, G20 कंट्रीज़ में प्रमोशन एज वेल ऑप्शन ऑफ DPI फ्रेमवर्क. अल्टरनेटिव मॉडल टू ट्रेडिशनल बिग टेक कंपनी, जिसकी वजह से पब्लिक ओनरशिप बढ़ा है और कंट्रोल ऑफ क्रिटिकल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर भी पब्लिक के हाथ में है. वन फ्यूचर अलायंस उनकी कैपेसिटी बिल्ड करते हैं, टेक्निकल असिस्टेंस देते हैं, फंडिंग देते हैं फॉर द DPI इन लो एंड मिडिल इनकम कंट्रीज. ओपन सोर्स इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर मतलब चाहते हैं ओपन सोर्स टेक्नोलॉजी. इसकी वजह से इंडिया कमिटेड टू ओपन सोर्स टेक्नोलॉजी, इसकी वजह से प्राइवेटाइजेशन नहीं हुआ है क्रिटिकल टेक्नोलॉजी, इनोवेशन फॉस्टर्ड हुआ है एंड एलिमेंट्स ऑफ फ्लेक्सिबल अडॉप्शन एट द ग्लोबल स्केल. DPI सिस्टम आर नॉट अ पैनेसिया. DPI are not a panacea, and if poorly designed, they can lead to severe lapses in the data privacy and user protection. However, if built with foresight, then DPI can obviously boost economic activity and help the communities lead a more meaningful life. In the coming decade, efficient implementation of DPI in yet to be tapped sectors could potentially determine how we grow as a nation. Global debt of developing countries. Sri Lanka faces an unsustainable debt and a severe balance of payment crisis, which highlighted the issues of growing debt of developing countries. Growing debt of developing countries. Developing countries often incur debt to fund the large-scale infrastructure projects like road, bridge, and power plant to stimulate the economic growth. In a recent United Nations report, A World of Debt, a growing burden to global prosperity, find global public debt reached an all-time high of $92 trillion in 2005 and $70 trillion in 2000. $92 trillion in 2022 and $70 trillion in 2000. ठीक है. रीजन फॉर द ग्रोइंग डेप्ट ऑफ द डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज. 2022 में कितना था? 92 ट्रिलियन. 2000 में कितना है? 17 ट्रिलियन. हायर कॉस्ट ऑफ फंड. When developing countries borrow money, they have to pay much higher interest rate than developed countries. More resources to pay interest. Currently, half of the developing countries they devote more than 1.5% of their GDP and 6.9% of their government revenue to interest payment, which is a sharp increase over the last decade. Relying on the private credit, developing nations have markedly raised market-driven borrowing from private creditors like bondholders and banks opting for commercial terms. This shift contrasts with traditional reliance on multilateral instruments for official credit. Issue and debt restructuring outside creditors avoid debt restructuring of a country in crisis. Take a data bank. 30% of the global public debt is held by the developing countries, of which 70% is represented by the China, India, and Brazil. 60% of the total public debt to GDP of a developing countries in those are increased. 60% is the total public debt to GDP. 59 developing countries they face a debt to GDP ratio above 60%, which is a threshold indicating a high level of debt. ठीक है 30% ऑफ द ग्लोबल पब्लिक इज हेल्ड बाय डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज, जिसमें से 70% 30% जो है वो डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज़ का है, जिसमें 70% तो चाइना, इंडिया, ब्राज़ील ने करके रखा है. ठीक है. उसके बाद डेप्ट रिस्ट्रक्चरिंग नहीं होती, पुअर डेप्ट मैनेजमेंट एंड लो गवर्नमेंट रेवेन्यू. इट इज़ मेनली ड्यू टू द इनएफिशिएंट टैक्स पॉलिसी, वीकनेस इन द रूल ऑफ लॉ और अमंग द इंटरनल कॉजेज. इसके पुअर डेप्ट मैनेजमेंट होता है और लो गवर्नमेंट रेवेन्यू आता है. कोविड-19 पैंडेमिक आ गया, कॉस्ट ऑफ लिविंग क्राइसिस हो गया, क्लाइमेट चेंज हो रहा है, डेप्ट ट्रैप, डिप्लोमेसी ऑफ चाइना, लिमिटेड सोर्स ऑफ फाइनेंसिंग. Debt sustainability होता क्या है? A country's public debt is considered sustainable if the government is able to meet all its current and the future payment obligation without exceptional financial assistance or going into default. Issue of debt sustainability. The burden of debt pushes them to borrow from more expensive sources, increasing their vulnerabilities, making it even harder to resolve the debt crisis. ये चीज़ है. बर्डन ऑफ डेट पुशेस देम टू बोरो फ्रॉम मोर एक्सपेंसिव सोर्स, इंक्रीजिंग देयर वल्नरेबिलिटी, मेकिंग इट इवन हार्डर टू रिजॉल्व द डेट क्राइसिस. श्रीलंका's public debt is unsustainable and as a result the country's lost international financial market access in 2022. Lost international financial market access. Decreased development spending. 3.3 billion people live in countries that spend more on internet than on health or education. Hamper sustainable development. Currently over 70% of the public climate finance take the form of country over 70% of the public climate finance take the form of debt. The countries in debt crisis tend to spend less on climate finance. Political and the social turmoil. Massive blame the government for the economic mess, which result in the political instability. Global financial stability. High debt level in developing countries can contribute to global financial instability. Way forward. Inclusive international financial architecture. It improves the real as well as the effective participation of developing countries in the governance of the real and effective participation किसका? Developing countries का in the governance of the international finance architecture. Reforms such as updating IMF quota formula to reflect the changing global landscape. Provide liquidity. It provides greater liquidity in time of crisis through IMF and MDB so that these developing nations do not offer high interest financing which is unsustainable. Provide liquidity. It provides greater liquidity in times of crisis. Provide greater liquidity in times of crisis through IMF and MDBs so that these developing nations do not offer higher interest financing which is unsustainable. Transparent reporting of debt. Ensure that all countries they adhere to a comprehensive and transparent reporting of public debt. ठीक है. Ensure that all countries adhere to a comprehensive and transparent reporting of public debt. Ensure that all countries adhere to a comprehensive and transparent reporting of public debt. Ensure that all countries adhere to a comprehensive and transparent reporting of public. Ensure that all countries they adhere to a comprehensive and transparent reporting of public debt. Greater transparency regarding the public debt liabilities, they can help prevent the buildup of the large hidden liabilities that in due course of time will turn into an explicit government debt. Burden debt management strategy. Low-income countries must proceed prudently in taking up new debt, focusing more on attracting foreign direct investment. Low-income countries must proceed very prudently in taking up new debt. They must focus more on attracting foreign direct investment and then boosting tax revenues at home. Lenders need to assess the impact of new loans on the borrower's debt position before extending the fresh credit. Prudent debt management strategy. Debt restructuring. Promote collaboration among the official credit जो दे रहे हैं to prepare for debt restructuring case that involve the non-traditional lender. Fulfilling the climate finance commitment. Climate change is one of the leading reasons for high public debt. Providing credit for climate mitigation then can avert the debt crisis. नेक्स्ट आता है ग्लोबल इनिशिएटिव टू सॉल्व द डेbt क्राइसिस इन डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज. रोल ऑफ IMF is helping countries address the large financing need to prevent the debt crisis and for countries already in debt distress to restore the economic and the financial stability. IMF is helping countries address large financing need to prevent the debt crisis or for countries already in debt distress to restore economic and financial stability. And helping countries address large financial need to prevent debt crisis or for countries already in debt distress to restore the economic stability, financial stability. Global Sovereign Debt Roundtable launched in February 2023 by IMF in coordination with World Bank and India's G20 presidency. The Global Sovereign Debt Roundtable brings together the key stakeholders involved in the sovereign debt restructuring to foster consensus on the debt and debt restructuring challenges and how to address them. Debt Management and Financial Analysis System. Debt Management Financial Analysis System Program of UNCD. The development objective of the Debt Management and Financial Analysis System Program is to strengthen the government's capacity to manage its debt effectively and sustainably. Debt manage करना. Financial Analysis System Program of United Nations Convention on Trade and Development strengthen the government capacity to manage its debt effectively and sustainably. Heavily indebted poor countries initiative. The IMF and the World Bank have launched the Heavily Indebted Poor Country Initiative in 1996 to ensure that no poor country faces an unmanageable debt burden. Heavy indebted poor countries initiative. IMF and World Bank launched the Heavy Indebted Poor Countries Initiative in 1996 to ensure that no country faces an unmanageable debt burden. Exchange rate management in India. Indian rupees evaluation against the currencies of the major trading partners has surged to a new two-hour high on a central bank intervention and elevated domestic inflation. Currency valuation. It refers to the process of determining the relative worth or value of one currency in terms of another. It is influenced by several factors including interest rate, inflation, capital flow, money supply, etc. The most common method to value currency is through exchange rate. An exchange rate represents the value of one currency in terms of another. For example, if the exchange rate from USD to INR is 80, you can exchange 1 USD for 80 INR. It refers to the process of determining the relative worth or value of one currency in terms of another. It is influenced by several factors की interest rate कितना है, inflation कितना है, capital flow, money supply. The most common method to value currency is through exchange rate. An exchange rate represents the value of one currency in terms of another. For example, if the exchange of USD to INR is 80, you can exchange 1 USD for 80 INR. Method for exchanging rate determination. Fixed exchange rate. ठीक है. Exchange rate. Here the value of currency is pegged or fixed to the value of another currency, a basket of currency, or a commodity like gold. Central bank actively intervene to maintain the fixed rate. Flexible exchange rate, also known as floating exchange rate, the exchange rate is determined by the forces of the market, the demand and the supply of currency in the international market. कितनी demand है, कितनी supply है. Central bank does not intervene directly to affect the level of the exchange rate. Manage exchange rate. It is a system where a currency's value is primarily determined by the market forces, but central bank may occasionally intervene to stabilize or influence the exchange rate. Here, the foreign exchange market and exchange rate. Fixed exchange rate era 1947-90 rupees. External par value was fixed in terms of gold, with the pound sterling as the intervention currency. Breakdown of the Bretton Woods system and the flotation of major currency. The rupee was linked to the pound sterling in December 1971. Rupee was pegged to a basket of currency. Currency selection and wage consignment was left to the discretion of RBI and not publicly announced. Then balance of payment crisis in 1991. Start of floating exchange era. End to the pegged exchange rate regime. 1992 liberalized exchange rate management system. Liberalized exchange rate management system was put in place. 1993 market determined exchange rate design was introduced. Exchange rate determination in India. Since 1993, several mechanisms have been tried effectively to capture the market dynamics for exchange rate evaluation. Currently nominal and the real effective nominal exchange rate, effective exchange rate, real effective exchange rate evaluation are used. Nominal effective exchange rate, real effective exchange rate. Measure of the value of a country's currency against a basket of other currencies, taking into account exchange rate with its major trading partner. It is a weighted average of bilateral exchange rate where the weight reflects the importance of each trading partner in a country's overall trade. It does not account for differences at price level or inflation. Real effective exchange rate. It measures the value of a country's currency against a basket of other currency take adjusted for differences in price level, does not a price level or inflation rate between the home country and its trading partner. It provides a more accurate reflection of a currency's purchasing power in international market. Effect of exchange rate on other key economic variable. Inflation. An overvalued currency can contribute to lower inflation by reducing the cost of imported goods and services and vice versa. For example, when the country imports goods and services from other countries, it needs fewer units of its own currency to purchase the same amount of foreign goods and service. As per the RBI Monetary Policy Report, the rupees 40 currency real effective exchange rate shows the rupee was overvalued by 5.7%. Overvaluation occurs when a currency's exchange rate is higher or stronger than its fundamental or intrinsic value. And central bank may respond to strengthening currency by lowering the interest rate. ओवरवैल्यू कर दी, ठीक है, ओवरवैल्यू कर दी, इंडिया ने क्या रही 5.7%, जैसे कि इम्पोर्ट कॉस्ट ऑफ इम्पोर्ट कम हो गया. इंटरेस्ट रेट को कम कर देना टू स्टिमुलेट द इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटी एंड एक्सपोर्ट. सिमिलरली सेंट्रल बैंक रिस्पॉन्ड टू अ वीकनिंग करेंसी बाय इंक्रीजिंग द इंटरेस्ट रेट. सेंट्रल बैंक रिस्पॉन्ड टू स्ट्रेंथनिंग करेंसी. अगर करेंसी स्ट्रेंथन करनी है तो इंटरेस्ट रेट को लोअर कर दो. रिस्पॉन्ड टू स्ट्रेंथनिंग करेंसी, respond to weakening currency by increasing the interest rate. Economic. While a stronger currency can contribute to lower inflation, it may reduce export-driven sectors, consequently a decline in overall economic growth. A stronger currency may contribute to trade deficit as export becomes less competitive and import becomes more attractive for domestic consumers. अगर stronger currency may contribute to trade deficit, क्यों? Export become less competitive, import become more export less competitive, import more attractive to domestic consumer. Capital 4. A stronger currency may attract foreign direct investment as investors seek higher return due to currency appreciation. Business decision. Exchange rate can be highly volatile, making it challenging for business to predict the cost, price and predict it accurately. Challenge. What are the challenges in managing the exchange rate? Unpredictable geopolitical event. Unexpected global events such as trade war, US-India trade war, geopolitical tension, example Ukraine-Russia war, or natural disaster can lead to a sudden and unpredictable movement in exchange rate. Speculation and manipulation. Buying and selling of currency in the forex market for speculation and manipulation can exacerbate exacerbate exchange rate volatility, creating challenges for policymakers in maintaining stable economic conditions. Government intervention. Intervention by government or the central bank, devaluation, depreciation to stabilize or influence exchange rate may impact market perception and create challenges for policymakers. Impossible trinity or inconsistent trinity. It refers to the idea that an economy cannot pursue independent monetary policy. Impossible trinity for or inconsistent. It refers to the idea that an economy cannot pursue independent monetary policy, maintain a fixed exchange rate, allow the free flow of capital across its border at the same time. Way forward. International policy coordination. Government and central bank should coordinate policies to maintain the stability through institutions such as the Bank of International Settlement. Maintaining foreign exchange buffer. Maintaining adequate buffer of key resources such as gold and important foreign exchange currency can help better manage market volatility. Advocate against the currency manipulation. Concerns can be voiced at international forum against the countries that international policy coordination. Government and central bank coordinate policies to maintain stability through institutions such as Bank of International Settlement. Maintain foreign exchange buffer. Maintaining adequate buffer of key resources such as gold and important foreign exchange currency can help better manage market volatility. Advocate against the currency manipulation. Concern can be voiced at international forum against countries that engage in currency manipulation that distort the global market for selfish gain. Inconsistent trinity. Free capital flow. At a certain time, a country could have a combination of any of these any two of these. Fixed exchange and sovereign monetary policy. Challenges managing exchange and unpredictable geopolitical speculation and manipulation. Government intervention. Intervention by government or central bank devaluation represent to supply influence exchange rate may impact the market perception and create challenges. So impossible trinity or inconsistent trinity. Monetary policy, fixed exchange rate and free capital flow. International policy coordination, government international policy coordination, Bank of International maintaining foreign exchange buffer, advocate against the currency manipulation. Insolvency in the bankruptcy code 2016. इस वाले पॉइंट से हम नेक्स्ट पॉइंट से पढ़ते हैं. ओके, थैंक यू.